Welcome to the Coach Two Time YouTube channel. Today's episode, we're going to talk about how I was able to coach and compete. Let's get into it. First, I'm going to start off by just giving you a little snippet of my story, how I got into coaching, and then what kind of brought me back to competing. I graduated college from Division III school in the spring of 2015, and so after that season, I was kind of lost, didn't know what to do. I was not done with my degree yet. I was finishing up my degree that next fall, student teaching. You guys know how that goes if you ever done any type of teaching. You didn't want to do that during your national championship run. Focused on that next fall, got a job opportunity. I was coaching high school at the time, got called up from my college coach at the time about a job opportunity up northern Wisconsin, and I was like, I don't have a job next semester, so yeah, sure, I'll come up.
The word today is job, J-O-B.
He's like, well, I want to hire you now, and so he hired me on. They began paying me before I even moved up there, and I'd done whatever I could. It wasn't much pay, guys. It was like nothing. I don't even know why I use the word pay, but it was very, very little. But I moved up there. He found me a place to live for free. I didn't have to pay rent, and that was great. And so for somebody my age, young, coming out of like college like that, I was like, this is a setup. I get to coach wrestling. I get to live for free. And so basically, I just subbed to make money, and I was in the room. My job was specifically just to wrestle at that point when I first got there. So I was in there scrapping with our 41-pounder who had become an All-American that year, a 49-pounder who had made it to the national tournament that year. And so I got really blessed my first year in the coaching by having some postseason success right away. But I was also wrestling 3 times a day, like so much wrestling. I felt like it was my job to make these guys better, and so I was doing everything I could to get them better, and putting in a lot of time. But at the same time, I had this competitive edge, so I wasn't at practice coaching, guys. I was just beating them up. So, after all that wrestling and doing private lessons, after my first year at college coaching, I decided that I was kind of hungry to compete still, and so I jumped into it lightly. I did university nationals that summer right after, and so back in the day before U23s existed, that is university nationals, and so I went out there and I had some success. I think I had won 4 matches, lost 2. I didn't place at the tournament, but for me, going into my I think that was my second ever time trying like a senior level or like even kind of older guys level freestyle tournament outside high school and stuff like that. I had some success, and so I kind of got that bug to wrestle freestyle, and so started to follow that a little bit more. I had gone like a year, after that point without doing anything freestyle, and so I was like, I spoke to my head coach and I said, what can I do to, kind of get better at this and try to find a way to compete. And so, he ended up kind of hooking me up. He had reached out to coach down at the Badgers and said, hey, I got this guy who's looking to compete. Could he kind of drive down once or twice a week to train in Madison? And so I was like, yeah, that's a bet. I'm in. And so that didn't work out. That coach ended up moving up to the Gophers, and somehow that same situation worked out for me. We asked that coach, okay, could he come over to Minnesota? And he said yes. And that was kind of where this road started for me, competing wise at the senior level. I had a really good teammate. His name's Nazar Golchinski. He was another D3 guy who was really good at freestyle, really good. And so, being able to train with him, being able to train with Dylan Ness, Brett Farr, and a lot of those other guys that I ended up meeting in the Gopher room. I was there for over a year and a half before I really even was offered to be a paid member of that RTC. But that just shows how you can work your way up in this wrestling world. It's not really about what you did in the past all the time. You can put work in, and you can see some fruition from that work. So that's what I did. So one of the biggest challenges that I faced through all of that was, how am I going to do all of this while still working and trying to provide? And so I had a full-time job going into the 2019 US Open, and so I had a great, employer who was letting me drive to Minnesota 3 times a week to train in the morning from 10 a.m. to like 12, and then come back and work. And like I had to stay a little later. Then I had to go to practice at Eau Claire, or the school I was coaching at the time. And so it was a lot to handle. And so how was I getting the right workouts in? How was I lifting? How was I getting nutrition? All those things are a challenge when you're doing what I was doing. I was on the road so much. Eating wasn't great. My diet wasn't great. It was really hard to sometimes I just skip meals. I wasn't eating enough. And that sounds great for cutting weight, but for energy, I'd get back to practice, in the afternoon, and I just didn't have it in me. You know what I mean? I felt like doing nothing. And also, we're wrestling folk style. Now you got a little glimpse into my life. Here are 4 really big ways that helped me to balance being a coach and an athlete. Step 1 is to make a schedule. I think it's really important to look at your year, look at when your competitions are going to be, and make a schedule. And so, first you make your yearly schedule. What competitions are you going to hit, when you're going to hit them, and then when you're going to train specifically for yourself. Then you got to make your weekly schedule, and your weekly schedule is going to look different depending on the time of season it is. Right now we're in the middle of, kind of getting towards the end of the year. We got conference, the nationals, and things like that. And so obviously I can't take a lot of time. Step 2 is kind of finding partners, who you're going to work out with. Set that up early. Know who that's going to be. Maybe that's going to be your red shirts. Maybe you got some local guy who's also competing. Maybe sometimes, what I did is I'll travel. We did certain trips out to other teams, and I'll go out and I'll wrestle with one of their senior level guys, or maybe I'll do a camp out at the OTC, or do a training camp at a different RTC and things like that. So you guys set that up. Find good partners, because your college guys can't do it all for you. Unless you're at one of those Power 5 schools where every kid on the team is also competing to be a world team member or a senior level kind of guy. You're at a school like where I am, where those guys aren't kind of reaching those goals just yet. We will get there, but you got to seek out partners, seek out guys to push you, seek out guys who are going to put you on that next level. So the next step I would say is doing extra. Just because you're not able to train full time like the rest of those guys you're going to be competing against, you need to do things after practice. You need to fit in every little workout you can. So I do a lot of different things, for cardio, for strength, and things like that, after practice, and it's really helped propel me and help me get through that second period. And so I think it's really important to do extra and make sure you're kind of getting those extra things to blow your lungs out. And the last step I would say is setting a good example. Things that you want your athletes to do on the mat, you need to be out there doing it yourself. You know what I mean? You can't, preach something that you're not going to practice yourself. You can't preach a good diet. You can't preach a good pace. You can't preach any of that stuff if you're not, doing it yourself. And so for me, I'm always, finding ways to make myself better for them. I know they're watching me. I know they're looking up to me. And so it's really important to take those steps of, doing the right things. Doing the right things in front of them and behind the scenes, just like you tell them to do. So that's the last step.